Victor Scott, their center field prospect that has been really making tremendous progress. He's a guy that hadn't played, above A ball, high A ball, and then this year in Double A, really, really good once he made the jump from the Midwest League, the high A. And, you look at what he did at Double A, and, he hit it's a pretty big jump to make that first climb to Double A. He hit 323. He had a 373 on base percentage. His slugging, his power continued to increase, had a 450 slug. 11 doubles, 2 triples, 7 homers. But famously, he stole, this was in Double A, he stole 94 bases. And before that, he stole 94 bases overall. Mm-hmm. I apologize. So he was named to the Arizona Fall League All-Star team. He started off a little slow, but he ended up, I'm pretty sure it's over. They did name a team, All-Star team. But he ended up with 15 steals in 17 attempts. He hit a fine 273. His on-base percentage was good, 364, because he drew walks. His power didn't translate all that much. In a way we say, "Wow, we're really the number would just blow you away." But he did slug over 400, and his OPS was 779. You got to remember, again, he's 22 years old, and he was making the climb this year and the cap off this year in the Arizona Fall League. And I think one of the more important aspects of what I just told you is that he finished really strong in the Arizona Fall League. It's one thing if you just don't get any power going, and you don't adjust, and you don't adapt, and you don't sort of get on a roll. He got on a roll towards the end of it. So I just wonder how that will shape the Cardinals' thinking, because by all accounts, he's very good defensively because he's so fast and he covers a lot of ground. And he would also give the Cardinals a really important element that they don't have all that much because, again, the manager and the coaching staff, they were all out to lunch this past season. They took an asset, great base running, aggressive base running. And even after Major League Baseball made it easier than ever to run the bases and to steal bases, the Cardinals decided they were too smart for all that. They knew better. They finally got the base running going, and too late, final couple months of the season. It didn't matter by then. They took away an asset that they could have gotten, that could have helped them and helped their offense. It was just one of the many things that just they screwed up. But they got to be looking at Victor Scott as a guy that's on a little bit of a fast-moving train now. And how would that shape their opinion or their view of, say, trading Tommy Edman? If somebody's jonesing for Tommy Edman. Mm-hmm. Because, number one, Tommy Edman ain't going to hold up in center field. Now, everybody can do, I know he's everybody's favorite boy and all that, but he gets banged up. He throws himself around in center field. It's fun to watch him play. Great respect for him, but it's not good for his baseball health. That's number one. Number two, he's still a liability at the plate against right-handed pitchers, which is bad news because roughly 75% of plate appearances are against right-handed pitchers. So if you got Victor Scott and you're confident that he's turned the corner and he's on the way, doesn't that give you a feeling of, you know what, we don't, it's not that we want to move Tommy Edman, but maybe actually this would be a good time for the right offer. That's the way I'm thinking now. The other thing, of course, is that other teams, I mean, are you kidding me? A guy that almost stole 100 bases this year? And if you add the Arizona Fall League to it, he did steal 100 bases. And the way he can play center field and the fact that his power is starting to emerge, and he always had pretty good plate discipline anyway. He draws walks and all that. He's 22 years old. You would have 6 years of major league contract control. I would say he would be a pretty appealing guy to a number of teams. However, if you're the Cardinals, do you really want to trade him? See, they have to make those decisions. I don't know how they rate their own people as far as like do not trade list, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. I would think that Scott would be, if he's not there, I would think he would be fast approaching the no trade status. I could be wrong, but I would think that anyway.
He does intrigue me from, like you said, it's not just he steals some bases. He's way over the top stealing bases, and that's should be a strength in today's game with the way, like you said, the rules have changed. There's a texter that says, Bernie, sounds like a prime candidate to be an outfielder to get away again.
Yeah, I know, right? In high A, let me do this real quick. In high A and double A, the combination of the season, you know what his strikeout rate was this year? About 16%. He puts the ball in play. He draws walks. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out there, and so that's one thought that I had about Cardinals prospects. To me, the one guy that I would probably have some nausea if they traded Nolan Gorman. And I don't even need to really justify that opinion because you know me, because I'm always trying to put things in perspective, and I look at what history tells us, and there have not been many 23-year-old guys who have hit, had the 27 home run season that he did at his age, and you desperately need left-handed bats. Because, again, over 70% of the plate appearances in Major League Baseball occur against right-handed pitchers. And he crushes right-handed pitchers. And that's why I always laugh when there's always this obsession. It's like, well, you got to let him play against left-handed pitchers. No, you don't. I don't really care. I mean, 77% of the time they're going to face a right-handed starting pitcher anyway, and if the other team starts the lefty ain't going to throw 9 innings. We know that, and then you got Gorman in reserve as a middle inning, late inning guy that can come off the bench and beat up a right-handed pitcher and hit one about 430 feet.
I'd take that.
Yeah, people just cannot change the old school orthodoxy. They just can't.
Another text.
It's a fascinating thing to me.
Text says, Bernie, I'd trade Tommy Edman immediately to get some starting pitching. No questions asked.
And even if it's like a number 4 starter type, or even if it's a reliever that they really like, right?
There's another part, yeah.
So anyway, I wanted to kind of get that out there. So I think the Cardinals people had a pretty good fall. I think Connor Jerpy, that left-handed pitcher, had a much better performance. A number 1 draft pick a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. But I'm not getting too much into that because I think Victor Scott's the guy that's kind of like on a faster track to the major leagues now. In fact, I would think he'd have a pretty good chance of arriving at some point next season.
I would think so, especially we say this every year, at least I do. They're going to thin the herd a little bit with some of those outfielders, right? At some point, there's going to be another, there's going to be a hole because they can't keep them. They can't bring all those guys back again, can they? But you never know. But I would think, again, because of Victor Scott's ability with the speed and the base stealing, it's a tangible thing that they really don't have anything that extreme on the roster from that type of talent that they would want to add. You could add that immediately. Speed plays immediately at the major league level. So I think he'd be, like you said, fast track for sure.
A few days ago, Baseball America wrote about him, Victor Scott, and said, yeah, he's a kind of a fast-moving prospect. And I know that early let me see if I can find this. Keith Law, around the middle of October, wrote something in a notebook about the Arizona Fall League. Let me read this to you that he said, right?
Yep.
So you don't think it's some St. Louis media homer, gushing and getting overly excited about doing what the Cardinals do, overrate their own guys. I'm not doing that. Here's what he said, Keith Law, about Victor Scott. He said, I got brighter news for Cardinals fans. You've heard about Victor Scott, an 80-grade runner is about the best you can have, by the way, who tied for the lead in professional baseball this year with 94 steals. He's looked very good in Arizona, and not just on the bases. He can play the heck out of center field. He has great reads on the ball that give him an unbelievable range, coupled with his speed. And he has shown much better contact quality than expected for a guy who showed very little power this year. He's also shown a really decent eye at the plate. He's got a Billy Hamilton floor with the speed and defense, but he's stronger than Billy Hamilton was, and he makes more contact than Billy Hamilton did. And this should give Victor Scott a pathway to be the kind of regular center fielder that Hamilton never really was. I'll take that.
I'm encouraged by that because immediately that's the name that was always coming to mind when I heard about Victor Scott. I was like, is this Billy Hamilton again? But hearing that from Keith Law tells you, ooh, okay, there's something there.
There is.
Another texter says, we have Brendan Donovan for a utility guy. You can move Edman.
I think so.
Yeah.
And when we say utility guy, that's absolutely correct because he played 6 different positions and he'll be in a lineup all the time. It's just it gives the manager for the flexibility to move him around and keep him in the lineup. Now that said, in all candor, well, I don't even have to say all candor because people should know this by now. The one position that Brendan Donovan doesn't play very well is shortstop, and you don't want to use him there a lot. He's not suited to play shortstop. He can play just about everywhere else. He's really good on third base. He's really good at first base. He had some problems early, but got much better in second base. He played corner outfield very well. But you don't want to use him at shortstop. He just doesn't have the range for it. So that would raise the question, okay, well, what do you do? If Mason Wynn becomes your shortstop, and they're going to give him every opportunity. And I realize some people wanted to trade him for like a middle reliever because he didn't hit as soon as he came to the majors. I'm being facetious, but I just can't stand people that are just completely unrealistic and basically goofy about stuff like that. Can you let the guy breathe a little? You realize how much he'll benefit from coming to the majors and getting exposure to major league pitching? He'll be all right.
Yeah.